Hello, Sean Corson here, Chief Analytics Officer and co-founder at Daasity. Today I'm going to be talking about lifetime value and some data gotchas when looking at your customer lifetime value. So I'm going to talk about 3 data gotchas when you're looking at your customer lifetime value numbers. These are things you want to be thinking about as you start to analyze and look at these numbers. First, when you think about lifetime value, when you start looking at these numbers, you really need to think about, how am I going to use this, right? It's not enough to just say, my customer lifetime value is $100, right? Well, what does that mean? Typically, lifetime value is a number where you want to be comparing it against different customer segments, or comparing an overall lifetime value number against cost of acquisition, for example. So that's a very common use of lifetime value. How much did it cost to acquire your customers, and what is the lifetime value of those customers? I also mentioned comparing against different customer segments. So things like what channel did customers first come through on their first purchase, and looking at the lifetime values for those different groups of customers. So are customers that come through paid social ads more valuable than customers that come through a paid search ad? Comparing customer groups by the SKUs that were in their first order is another very common use of lifetime value. Second data gotcha, think about your time frames when looking at lifetime value. So again, just saying, well, my lifetime value is $100. All right, over what time frame? Is that within their first 6 months, within the first 12 months, 24 months? Obviously, big differences there, right? Most merchants, most investors like to look at lifetime value at sort of different time points. So what is it after 6 months, 12 months, maybe 18 months, 24 months? And then the further out you go, the more likely it is that your lifetime value curves are just going to flatten out, right? You don't have customers coming back as often. So think about, at what point do you kind of cut that? So for most merchants, that's at 24 months or 36 months. After that point, they don't see much movement in lifetime value. Third data gotcha, think about how lifetime value is calculated. So typically, it is for every customer, you roll up all of the revenue, all of the purchases that customer has made. And then you subtract out, from that revenue, you subtract out all of the costs associated with those purchases. So those costs might include SKU costs, they might include shipping and fulfillment costs. This is a very important thing to think about, how that lifetime value number is calculated. If you just look at revenue, well, you might have different SKUs that have wildly different costs associated with them. So if you're just looking at gross sales or net sales over time for customers, you might see, well, this customer group has a higher lifetime value than, customer group A might have a higher lifetime value than customer group B. But if you're just looking at revenue, those numbers may completely switch once you take into account cost of SKUs and fulfillment costs. So making sure that all of your costs are pulled into that lifetime value number, very important to make sure that you get an accurate view of your lifetime value, and really understand how much your customers are worth over time.